I should change the name of this channel to Spitballing for God. Or could that be a band? Spitballing for God. Anyway. Hey gang, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel and I read Bible so that you don't have to. I'm doing it, guys. I'm reading the whole entire Bible. If you don't know, I'm reading the whole entire Bible from the very first book to the very last one. We're on the second one. It's going to take a while, but we're having a good time. The thing is that the Bible is very rich and full of hilarious comedy moments. Beautiful things about truth. We don't know if there's any truth in the Bible, but we do know that it is fun. We're here in Exodus chapter 16. The Israelites, they're hanging out in an oasis, a lush oasis, 2 million people under 70 palm trees and 12 springs. It feels a little bit like they're spinning their tires. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know where they're going from here. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they're heading back to the mountain. When God called Moses to do this job as a burning bush, he said, this is how you're going to know that I'm God. Eventually, you're all going to come back to this mountain. So maybe they're heading back to that mountain. I don't know. But it hasn't really spelled that out for us yet, but hopefully maybe in this chapter. So we're here at Exodus chapter 16, and if you haven't subscribed, do that now. Have you done it? My subscriber count is growing, so people are enjoying this. So if you aren't subscribed and you're watching this right now, just go ahead and do it. It's super fun. And if you disagree with what I'm saying, subscribe and get in on the conversation. Change my mind, change my perspective on this stuff. You know what I mean? That's why you should be commenting, by the way. I want everyone to comment, people that love me and agree, and people that don't so much love me and disagree, okay? Feel free to pop those comments in the comment section and like the video, okay? Thank you. All right, Exodus chapter 16. The whole Israelite community set out for Elim and came to the desert of Sin. Now, I wonder if this is the same sin that is sin, you know. So we haven't heard that much about sin. I think it's been mentioned. Has it been mentioned more than one time? I almost don't know if it's been mentioned more than the Cain and Abel time where sin is crouching at your door, it wants to have you. I think it may have been mentioned another time or two. And of course, if you count wickedness as sin, then of course it has been mentioned. But I'm talking about the word sin. They came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. Very Pacific. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. Again? I feel like this is like the third time. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. I got to tell you guys, there's a lot of evidence that the Israelites were not slaves in Egypt. Now, full disclosure here, I read this book at face value. And if you watch previous episodes, you will hear me say stuff like, do you pay slaves? They have their own council? Slaves have their own council? What, they have their whole community of people that live in Goshen, their own houses and all these things? Oh, what is this? They have their own cattle too? Are these people actual slaves? And now they're saying that they ate well. They had a lot of meat. They were always full. They were kind of happy. Sounds like they weren't treated that well. They were beaten and their babies were being killed because there was too many boys. That did happen. But were they really slaves in the, I'm going to say, true sense of the word? Now, typically, I don't look up anything, read anything, talk about this with anyone before I read it here. And then later on, I'll learn things. And that's often why I do the recaps. But I did ask my friend Justin, who is a Bible scholar turned atheist. He runs the Deconstruction Zone. If you look on TikTok or YouTube, I talked to him and he knows about this stuff. And he was telling me that no, there are scholars who do believe that the Israelites were not slaves in Egypt the way you and I would envision slavery. Was the punishment that the Lord doled out on Egypt, all those plagues and everything, for people who were well fed, paid for their services, of at least nursing their own children, lived in their own houses and had their own council and had their own cattle? Were these people really slaves? And did the people of the country that they lived in, and they only lived there because God orchestrated them being there, I've said that a million times, did they deserve all this punishment from God? I mean, you can decide. These Israelites, they're not even happy about it here. They're like, we would rather be there. But obviously, God wants them to be here because God wants them to worship him. God is like, no, you're my people. You will worship me. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and this is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days. Okay, so God is like, all right, fine. I get it. You're hungry. I didn't think ahead, but let me just materialize bread. God can just materialize bread, right? He could just go, boop. Like but I don't know if you guys know this. There's still starving going on in the world. Do you know that? God is capable of just going, tons of bread, only enough for each day, but tons of bread. So Moses and Aaron said to the Israelites, in the evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling and your tummy's grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us? So they're like, don't pick on us. And by the way, God's going to be nice. He's going to fix this. But by the way, but don't blame us. And if you don't like the bread, don't blame us. Like if it comes down stale, if it comes down soggy, because it will have gone through, the atmosphere, clouds, and probably be fairly wet. I mean, it's desert, so there may not be very much precipitation. Maybe it'll come down as toast, because it depends how fast bread falls, how far it's coming in. Anyway, long story short, don't blame us. Okay? Moses also said, you will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not to grumble against us, but against the Lord. That's really great. I don't know if this is something that we should take on. Like, Moses is the hero. Aaron is the hero. These are prophets, okay? These are big deals. I believe that they could be considered patriarchs, but there's certainly, like, Moses is one of the main guys. You guys realize this, right? And he's saying, don't blame us, blame him. Why are we not following this lead? Why are we going like, cancer and babies, blame us, blame what we did. It's because of what we did as human beings. It was Adam and Eve. But if there's horrible human suffering everywhere, blame us. No, blame God. They know it's God. They're like, don't blame God. He's the one that's doing all of this. Where did this theology go? Why are we not still blaming God the way Moses and Aaron taught us? It makes more sense, doesn't it? I think it does. Then Moses told Aaron, say to the entire Israelite community, come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling. While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, I guess he's doing the talking again, they looked towards the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. I wonder what that looked like. Just light maybe, it was the glory of the Lord. Just, they saw the glory of the Lord. You can't see the Lord, but you can see the glory of the Lord. Whatever that means. These are like non-words. Like they're like, well, we saw his glory. What was that? I don't know. The Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. I wonder if this bread has yeast. I have a feeling that it's bread, but it don't got no yeast. By the way, I don't know if eating bread in the morning is even good. Like, I feel like you want to have maybe a bit of fruit, maybe some yogurt, you want to have some of that gut health, that positive bacteria or something. You don't just want to fill up on bread in the morning. I think that's going to make you sluggish. And I'm not even good at diet, And then meat at night, yeah, that protein, that will be good. I like my meat, and protein is good. I mean, you do get necessary stuff from meat. I don't know anything about diet. That evening, quail, that's fancy, quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning, there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat." It sounds like it's unleavened. It doesn't sound like it's got yeast. It's thin flakes like frost. It sounds like cereal. It sounds like Frosted Flakes, to be honest with you. It sounds like the inspiration for Kellogg's. So I don't usually do any Googling, but John Preston Kellogg was a Christian. He was a Baptist at one point, and he was a Seventh-day Adventist at one point. So that makes sense because Frosted Flakes, they're right in the book, guys. And they're great. God's great. God is great. Oh my goodness. Let us thank him for this food, which is our Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flakes are manna from heaven? Now, if I could just Google if there's yeast in Frosted Flakes, and if there's not, there's not, then whoa, mind blown. Does that not prove the Bible to be true? I've seen videos like this. This proves the Bible to probably be true. It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent. All right, guys, don't take more than an omer. Don't take more than an omer each. What's an omer? What's an omer? Moses, what's an omer? I don't know what an omer is, but I'm sure that somebody knows what an omer is, and that's fine. And again, we're doing this at face value. Who cares what an omer is? Let's call it a serving. I bet you it's a serving. But I like that the Lord waited till the dew was gone, because I was worried that the bread was going to be soggy. But he waited for the dew to be gone because he's like, that's going to taint my Frosted Flakes. And then all the flakes came down and all over the desert. I mean, they are on sand, which I don't know if that's the best thing. Like, it's hard to get the sand off a Frosted Flake. See, it's still gritty. Grits! Is this the beginning of grits too? The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some little. And when they measured it by the omer, he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered as much as he needed. This is a magic trick that I think Jesus is going to replicate when he feeds the 5,000. Again, I'm not supposed to look forward. I'm not supposed to know. I'm not supposed to know. Jesus is going to remember this and be like, look I'm going to do a very similar trick. Not because I'm not creative and I can't think of new tricks, but because I want to reference the book. I want to reference the Old Testament. That's right. I reference the Old Testament. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. Okay? However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. Probably couldn't hear him because they're like at the back of the crowd of 2 million. So they're like, what did he say? No one is to keep any till morning. No one is to keep any till morning, and if you do, you should burn it. No, no one is to keep it. Look, I can't hear what he's saying, but I'm just going to take the omer and eat as much as I want, and then maybe save some for the morning if I want a snack. I always get peckish like first thing in the morning. And this is good. By the way, I feel like this is more of a breakfast food anyway. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses and kept part of it until morning. But it was full of maggots and began to smell. So Moses was angry with them. He's like, it stinks. It stinks in here, guys. I told you not to keep it. This stuff does not have the additives in it. This is organic stuff, okay? It's not going to keep. This will spoil overnight. This stuff is really, really finicky. Okay, you want the stuff with all the sugar and all the additives and stuff so that you can keep it on a shelf for 6 weeks? Yeah, that's the stuff that they have traveling across the country to the grocery store. You don't want that stuff. You want this that grows maggots overnight. Look, there's going to be more. There's probably going to be more each day. This is magic bread, and when we do bread on Fridays, that magic bread doesn't rot as quickly. That does have additives. That stuff is not as good for you. But it's the weekend, so let's go crazy. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as he needed. And when the sun grew hot, it melted away. Ooh, this stuff I bet you that manna was absolutely fantastic. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much. 2 omers for each person. That checks out. Good math. I like when the Bible is consistent with math. If someone ever says the Bible is full of contradictions, Christians should go straight to this one. Aha, they said 1 omer, and then they said twice as much, and they said 2 omers. You tell me the Bible isn't consistent. It's very consistent this one time. And the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want and bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning. You know about boiling bread? You know when you boil bread, I know it melts away in the sun, but if it boils, it doesn't boil away. So it's kind of a different kind of bread. By the way, Mr. Kellogg was a Seventh-day Adventist, which makes sense that, as we can see here, he is very obsessed with the Sabbath day. They do like the Saturday and not the Sunday, and they think that's super important. I don't know, maybe they're just eating too many Frosted Flakes. So they saved it until morning, as Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. Eat it today, Moses said, because today is the Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any. Nevertheless, some of the people went out on the Sabbath day to gather it, but they found none. These people are morons. I mean, they are stupid, right? They're just like, yeah, maybe he's not telling the truth. You know, they're just, I guess there's always going to be, it takes all kinds, you know. Some people have to not know what the heck is going on. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the 7th day. No one is to go out. So the people rested on the 7th day. The obsession here is resting on the 7th day. This is very, very important to this God. Why? Why? I don't know if anyone has an answer, but I would say we don't know. I know that there's that theme. He rested on the 7th day, and we've heard about this before. This isn't the first time resting on the 7th day is brought up. It keeps on being reiterated, but there's no real why is that important? I think the people that wrote this book, as I said before, just really want a day off. They're like, we're not working the full 7. We're not doing it. How are we going to not do it? It's like, God said, the people of Israel called the bread manna, not Frosted Flakes. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. Moses said, this is what the Lord has commanded. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so they can see the bread I gave you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. Okay, this bread is just absolutely inconsistent. Now, and I understand it's magic. I don't care if the Omer's thing is consistent, but the bread doesn't last for more than a day, or it can last 2 days, or it can last for all time, like all generations. And it's so that we can see, can we still see that? Is there somewhere we can see the bread? I wish that they could taste it. And by the way, don't say, well, how could they taste it? There wouldn't be enough to taste it. How could all the people of all time taste this bread? It's magic bread. If you get too little, it'll be enough. If you get too much, it'll be just enough. You could have this in a museum. They can go, just take a piece off of it. It never ends. Like, it never goes away. So you can, everyone that goes by just, oh, that's actually really good. I'm just spitballing for God, because it would be neat if, that should be the name of this channel. I should change the name of this channel to Spitballing for God. Or could that be a band? Spitballing for God. Anyway, so Moses said to Aaron, take a jar and put an omer of manna in it, then place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come. Where's the Lord? Like, where are you placing it? And also, where is it now, and how can we find it? That would be another good episode of Indiana Jones. We found the jar of manna. That's not the accent. We found the jar of manna. This was the jar of manna that was placed before the Lord. As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony that it might be kept. What's the testimony? This is a new introduction to a thing? The Israelites ate manna 40 years until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. I don't know what an ephah is. All right, so this is neat. So they're eating the same thing, quail and manna. This stuff has to be pretty darn good, don't you think? But, you can prepare it all sorts of different ways. You can boil it, or then just eat it or whatever. So, yeah, it's pretty good stuff. And there's a thing called a testimony, capital T, testimony, where they've put a jar of that stuff. Jar, probably a clay jar, I would imagine. Pretty neat. So we've got some magic manna, and we now know that the Israelites are going to be in the desert for 40 years. I've already hinted at it in previous chapters, but I think that this is the first time we learn that they are going to be there for 40 years. And that's pretty cool. So, well, thanks for joining me. We'll be back next time with chapter 17. Please subscribe, like, and leave a comment for me. Until then, bye.